So I was trying to distinguish, okay, if they're three in one, the Trinity, why is it that some people can say they've had a nudge or the Holy Spirit is there as well?
A great way to think about this is to see the Holy Spirit as there are lots of terms given to the Holy Spirit in the New Testament, but I think seeing the Holy Spirit as the great mediator of the others, I think is really good. We've just had the story of the resurrection in Easter, and one of the passages that gets used is John, and Mary Magdalene turns up at the tomb. Jesus isn't there, and she's wandering around outside, and she spots someone that she thinks is the gardener, and it's Jesus. Jesus then says something really curious to her once he says her name and she recognizes who he is. He says, "Do not hold on to me. I need to ascend to the Father." And there's the promise that he's made to them all as well, that he will send another counselor, which is the Holy Spirit. So then as the story progresses, and we're playing this out in the church calendar at the moment, we get to the ascension where Jesus ascends to the Father and the gift of the Holy Spirit is given. Now, in what we believe about the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, they are distinct, but they are one. They share each other's substance. So in Jesus, the Father fully dwells, the Holy Spirit fully dwells. In the Holy Spirit, the Father fully dwells, and the Son fully dwells, but it's still the Holy Spirit. But that gift of the Spirit is the gift of the presence of the Father and the Son. The Holy Spirit mediates that for us. So in praying, the Holy Spirit is prompting that prayer and is mediating that prayer between us and the Father and the Son. So in recognizing the presence of the Holy Spirit and the Holy Spirit speaking with us, and I would say that in order to recognize the Holy Spirit speaking with us, think about truth, beauty, and goodness. God is the source of life, truth, beauty, and goodness. Wherever those things are present, God is present. And God is speaking. So if you have a thought that nudges you towards any one of those three things, truth, beauty, or goodness, that is the Spirit at work. That is God at work. And because we believe that the Spirit is mediating all three, that is the Father, the Son, and the Spirit at work in your life, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Do you think sometimes it just comes down to language that people are using? Because, I can think of times where I've heard people being like, God, I felt like God was speaking to me.
Yeah.
And blah, blah. But then someone else might say, felt the Holy Spirit said this to me or prompted me to do this or go over here and talk to this person or whatever it is. Or like, I've just been feeling like Jesus is calling me to this. And you're like, well, are they meaning individually this version of the presence of God, specifically, the named one that they used is called, or they just mean in general their understanding of the presence of God or something is speaking to them and they've just chosen that description? I
think there's a number of things that shape, and it is language. I think there are a number of things that shape that language. The cultures that we grow up in, and Christian cultures generally have different flavors and different ways of talking about things, different emphases, so our language might reflect that. But then we can go through different phases as well. Like I remember coming to faith, and as someone whose father took off when I was a few months old, the idea of father was really foreign. So I deliberately leaned into a focus on God the Father in order to redeem that and to really think about God as Father. So I would pray to the Father. And then I've had other times where, but I recognize that the Spirit is mediating that. It's the Spirit is the one who is prompting the prayer and mediating that. The Spirit is the presence of God with me. And then there are other times where the focus is very much Jesus for various reasons. So partly it's about where I'm at, partly it's about the language that we're shaped in, but it is the Spirit of God at work in us.
This might be a interesting take, but do you think people overestimate or over-spiritualize how much God speaks to people or the Holy Spirit speaks to them? Or do they underestimate how often God is prompting or nudging people? Or
that is a really good question. I'm in a bit of a flux on this one, because once upon a time I would have said people over-spiritualize. But now recognizing that our world is relatively disenchanted and we've been taught to just kind of not see anything spiritual, I think leaning into it a little bit is good. But I think we need to be really careful with some of the language of God said. I've said this before. When in my chaplaincy work, I'm a true believer that God's Spirit is at work in everybody that I sit down with, and God's Spirit is at work in me, and the whole point is to highlight whatever God's Spirit is up to, whether that be overtly recognizing it or just working with it. And so I feel nudged to make comments all the time, like just intuition. This person needs to hear this, or this person needs to hear this. Now, because I believe that the Spirit is the source of truth, beauty, and goodness, any comment in that direction, I believe, is God at work. But I don't sit there and say to them, I believe God is saying. It's just, I will say whatever the intuition is, and because I believe I'm shaped by the Holy Spirit towards truth, beauty, and goodness, then any comment in that direction is, hopefully, is the Spirit. But I don't sit there and overthink that. This is just how I'm going to live, and hopefully my life is steeped in the Spirit, so that's what's coming out.
Interesting. Thank you, Frank, for that insightful discussion.
Thank
Very
you.
good. I know we could go on and on and on about it, but thank you.